Well, it's always a pleasure to be joined by the manager of the Angels, Ron Washington, but we'll always remember Wash, of course, as one of the great coaches and great teachers in A's history. How are you, my friend? It's great to have you on.
I'm doing well. I'm healthy. I'm walking around. I'm waking up in the morning, so I'll just deal with the day.
Well, and you got to be real happy with the way your team's playing. Your team right now is on a heater.
Well, I'll tell you what, we were due. You know, we've been battling since spring training started, and we had issues trying to get things in order, and all of a sudden they came together, and they only came together because the guys didn't stop working and didn't stop believing, and now we gaining the fruit of it.
Yeah, Wash, it's amazing. This American League West is wide open, as you well know, and it seems that you guys have really, your whole team has really bought into the work ethic. I know going to Wash University with the great defense that you've put out there in front of so many people and helped so many. I wish I could have worked with you young in my career, but I know these guys have bought into that. And are you seeing the fruits of that now? Because this team is absolutely smoking hot right now.
Well, no doubt about it. You know, the work ethic is key, especially when you're dealing with youth. They have to learn how to grind. They got to learn how to get through days when things aren't right. They can't make excuses. They just got to take ownership of everything. And this group has been doing that. And, you know, we still a ways off from being where we want to be. But, you know, you can see all the hard work, all the dedication, all the commitment, and the attitude that they bring every day is starting to pay dividends. And we're only in our second year.
Right.
So, but usually in the game of baseball, if you treat it right, it will eventually treat you right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening to us right now, is treating us right.
I see. Yeah.
You know, I think about the teachable moment, and I know we've talked about this in the past with you, but there are times where you have to stop everything and go back and correct that moment. Not everybody does this in a game. This is a big thing for you. So talk about that. When you see something that you don't like, you're going to make sure you teach these kids how to do it the right way.
Well, when you're the manager of a ball club and you're looking out there and you're seeing things you don't like, why complain about it? Because I can make the difference.
Yes.
And that's the way I was taught. You know, I came through the Dodgers organization, I came through the Royals organization, and it was fundamentally sound. And when they seen something, they corrected it. They didn't care about hurting your feelings, which is something that happens today in this game because these kids is fighting to survive because they're at the big leagues so young and so early.
Yes.
They haven't had that experience to understand how to get through that adversity. And that's our job, to help them get through that adversity. You don't run from it, you deal with it. And when we see it, if your feelings hurt because we are correcting it, then you're in the wrong place.
Oh, you know how much I love to hear that? I think it is so imperative that people today learn to bounce off that fence of failure and come back to the middle and learn how to fix it. Be that a guy on the mound or a guy in the field or a guy at the plate, they got to learn to fix the problem on their own so that they're self-sufficient.
That's what you do as a teacher or as a mentor. You get these kids to be self-sufficient. The coaches that might be out there helping kids to understand how to do the game, but then when they're not around, the kid is lost.
Absolutely.
You hit it on the nose. Whenever you teach or you mentor someone, you teach and mentor to them to be self-sufficient. When no one else is around, you understand the teaching and the learning that you have gotten, and you have to take chances.
Yeah.
Another thing that this group in the game today, this generation, they don't want to take chances because it's uncomfortable. I know you've done a lot of things in this game that was uncomfortable, but you found out that it could help me. So when things went astray, I can always go back to something that I did that was uncomfortable to snap me back.
Yes.
And that's baseball, and it's ongoing, and it will never change no matter what generation you're in. So I come from that generation of constantly dealing with the adversity and getting through it and learning from it. And every time I failed, it was an education. It wasn't failure.
Like it was a process.
Yes.
It was part of the process.
It is the process.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, you got to learn from failure. And I think about, you know, all the years you being in baseball. Just talk about where you are now and just how different it is dealing with a pitching staff, more relievers, more innings from relievers than ever before.
Well, the biggest difference is the situation where a pitcher has to come in and face three batters. It's hard for you to maneuver.
Yeah.
You know, you could just bring a pitcher in, get this guy, call to the bullpen, get another one.
Right.
You get that guy, call to the bullpen, get another. That's strategy.
Yeah.
The strategy is gone.
Yes.
Now, as a manager, you have to sit here and you have to make sure you manage your bullpen. Before, you had to manage everything.
Yeah.
Now they pick over to first base a couple times, they can't go back.
Yeah.
Well, these base runners know this, and it gives them an advantage.
Yeah.
So that's the hardest part, just trying to control the pitching staff. And then when they come in, they're not coming in throwing 8 or 9 pitches to get out of an inning. They're coming in throwing 20, 25. So now what happens? You look at your list, you look at the innings you might have available for the next day. This guy can't pitch. He threw 30-something pitches. This guy can't pitch. That's the difference right there. Back in our day, they pitched every day. And the manager had to pry the starter off the rubber to give it to a reliever.
So get out the WD-40 and the crowbar, right, and get him out of there.
Now you go out there, they handing you the ball. I didn't come to get that ball. but that's the way it is.
Yes. Wash, I got to ask you about this, and I already know the answer to this, but I got to throw it out there. I see the culture of this team. Townie made a great statement yesterday. He talked about the body language. There's a body language plus on this team. I can see it. And I know that comes from you and your coaching staff. How important has it been to instill the culture, number one? And the second part of my question is, how much has Mike Trout been a help for you guys? Even though he's not playing, I'm sure he's bought into that culture, and he's been an advocate for this for your club.
Well, let me get to Mike Trout first.
Okay.
There's 2 P's in this game. There's presence and performance. Every player wants to perform, but the ones that carry that aura is their presence, and that's Mike. Mike's presence is always advantageous to any players that he's around. It's not his performance, because we know if he plays, he will perform.
Yeah.
Because he has that God-given talent and ability and experience. So his presence is the most important thing, and he makes certain, even though he's not on the field with us, he makes sure his presence is around. He makes sure he's answering questions. He makes certain that he's giving advice. So he's a coach for us. We got 7 coaches.
Yeah.
He's number 8.
Gotcha.
Now the culture, we've been building this since the time we arrived. We took our young kids through the grind of a 162-game season last year, and we put the pedal to the metal on them. I know they was tired. I know they was fatigued. I know they didn't want to, they had nothing to give, but we helped them to understand how to go out there and get strong mentally, because the mind is the most powerful thing you have. And if your mind is prepared to do it, the mind will make your body do what it has to do. And my kids went through that. And now I'm able to give them some days off. Last year, I couldn't give them days off because it was my team.
Right.
Now I'm able to give them some days off. Instead of them playing 156 games, I can get 140 out of them.
Right.
And they're not fighting me on it because they felt the grind last year.
Yes.
And they know that whatever we do, we're doing for their benefit.
Right.
And they trust in us.
Sure.
And we consistent. That's the thing. We are consistent, and they don't see a change in our consistency, which means they can't change in their consistency.
Yes.
There isn't a coach they can go to trying to cry because he's going to give them the same message that I'm giving.
The old thing when the young kid says, well, Mom said it was okay, Dad, that is not going to happen.
That ain't going to happen.
No, right.
Well, let's end on this. Your legacy is always going to be a part of the Athletics. There's no question about it. Eric Chavez was recently here with the Mets. Marcus Semien, they always bring you up about their careers and how instrumental you were in their career. Just how does it feel to know that in this organization's history, you will always be a part of it?
Well, that's the greatest thing that could happen, because I had a dream when I finished playing. My wife was upset that I quit playing. And I said, honey, in 5 years, I'll be back in the big leagues. Now, I was trying to appease my wife. I didn't know that. But in 5 years, I was back in the big leagues.
Right.
And when I came back to the big leagues, I came to Oakland. And when I came to Oakland, I got an opportunity of all that young talent that they was bringing through to work with. And the thing is this, you can be the greatest coach in the world, but if your pupil can't go out there and apply it, how good are you? So I use 3 words. Just listen to me, learn what I'm trying to give to you, and then apply it. And if you can do those 3 things, you're gonna have it made. And those kids did that. So they made it easy for me. I think the industry know who I am, but again, how good am I if the players can't go out there and perform? And all those players you're talking about, they went between those lines and got the job done. And I just was the yellow brick road. That's all I was.
That's a beautiful thing.
I was the yellow brick road.
How lucky they are to have you impart your wisdom and have you with them. I know that they can feel that closeness and that bond you have with them, and that means everything to those youngsters. You know that.
Well, the thing about luck is it goes both ways. I'm lucky to have them to be able to do what I do, and you're right. They're lucky to have my wisdom and knowledge.
Yeah.
But then again, I can feed them all I want to. If they can't go between them white lines where it's supposed to be done and apply it, then I'm no good. So I'm good because of them.
That's
And yes, they good because of me. So see how it works?
Yeah, well, absolutely.
It doesn't get any better than that. It's a great Ron Washington right here on Ace Cast.